Hi, I'm Shaelan Bowers. I'm an activist and working for Unchained TV today. I've been vegan for about 10 years. So 2013 was the year. It started with like health stuff. I was just not feeling good. A lot of fog, depression was bad. All those kind of things were happening and were really prevalent. And it really started there, and I made some changes, and then I saw a documentary, and that was pretty much it. I watched so many in rapid succession. Really? During that time, it's like it opened up the floodgates, and I was just like documentary after documentary.
What galvanized you even to think about all this?
I was reacting badly, particularly to dairy. Okay. Particularly to dairy, I was reacting badly, and I went to go see an allergist, and the allergist was like, "You're lactose intolerant," and I'm like, okay. What does that mean in a bigger sense? So I kind of went down the rabbit hole about being lactose intolerant and finding out that everyone's lactose intolerant and they shouldn't be having it. And it really led me to go like, well, that's weird. If we know this, and this doctor wasn't even vegan, it's just like, if we know this is true, then why are we doing this? Why is this such a big part of our culture? And then that really opened my mind up to be like, okay, how can I continue to do this? It's almost like with Game Changers, looking at it from how does this affect me? Because I think we're built that way, and then really expanding out from that and going, oh my God, this is affecting our world and all these beautiful sentient beings. It's affecting everything. So it started small, and then my mind just it was this unbelievable awakening and I couldn't get enough, and I had to know everything. But I changed right away. I mean, it was a very quick process.
What brought you to watching these documentaries?
Well, I love documentaries, first of all. I mean, I'm a huge documentary fan. I mean, and so finding documentaries that were very, the bravery was one thing that just really spoke to me, because I loved how brave the people were that were doing this, and there was something about that I was just like, the bravery of these people to do this and to go into these places and to challenge these people really, really struck a chord with me. And I was already moving in that direction, and I was just like, I had such respect for these individuals and what they were doing, and I'm like, this is right. This is the right thing to do. I just had to find out why we live this way, and I think these documentaries did a very good job of explaining how we got to this point and what led us to animal agriculture and having milk and things that it has no business being in, and the political part of it and the milk lobby and all of it. It was just having the wool over my eyes for such a long time, and it was very freeing. It was very, very freeing for me.
Why didn't you go vegan maybe sooner, you think?
Sooner than that?
Yeah.
I think it was really based around family, and my dad grew up in Texas, and he was like a vitamin D milk person, and that was what was in our home. And once I became vegan, I kind of went back to my childhood on some of these things, and I was just like, that milk would go bad in like 3 days, like you'd have to drink the whole gallon of milk in no time flat, before it would start curdling, and going back to those memories and being like, this all makes sense now. And my dad, he spent a lot of time on farms in Texas and New Mexico, and it was very much a part of his life and the way that he saw things. And we also didn't have a lot of money, so there was a lot of time spent eating 29-cent hamburgers from McDonald's. I mean, this was
subsidized to be affordable for poor people.
Yeah, this was a necessity at times, for us. That really, pushed that message of like, this is normal. This is a normal thing to be and a normal thing to do. So unwinding from that after being out on my own and striking out on my own was something that was difficult. It didn't come into my life sooner for that very reason, because it was the unraveling all of that, which came with my own spiritual journey as a human being. Unraveling all that took time. It took a long time. I had stopped with dairy. I had stopped with fish. I had stopped with these certain things
systematically. Yeah.
But I was still on. I wasn't drinking glasses of milk, but I was eating products that had milk in them. I was eating products that had cheese in them. I was eating these, consuming these things.
Yeah, because they put it in everything.
Yeah, when I was living in San Diego, going to lunch with my best friend, and it's like ordering a plate of nachos, right? And it's like I can't not do this. I didn't know how. And I think that's what a lot of people, once you tell them how, or be like, no, it's really easy. You can do this. This is how you do it. Then they're like, oh man, I didn't realize it was that easy to go in this direction. And that's what it was for me. I just felt like I couldn't, the feelings were there, because I think the feelings were always there, but it was, how can I do this? How can I make this happen? And once I realized I could.
What changed physiologically, mentally, or emotionally after you went vegan?
I mean, I'm in the best shape of my life now, definitely. And I think I found my tribe, you know? I think emotionally, it validated all my experiences and my feelings about animals, because I'm such an animal lover. It really helped me zoom in about who I was at my core, and that is this loving all animals the way that I do, and having that be the primary motivating force in my life. Helped me learn a lot about myself, and how much how beautiful it is to connect with people like in this community, and how bonded we are together. Instead of having relationships that were kind of on the fringes and maybe not
based on trivial things.
Yeah, based on, liking the same sports team and stuff like that doesn't even really matter. And then finding this community where it's like we're connecting on a level of just philosophy of life. Like, what does it mean to be alive? What does it mean to treat sentient beings the same? And to respect nature, and to respect the environment and animals the same way that we respect ourselves. I think it even made me respect myself more during that process, being like that I can own this, along with this community and all these people. I can really dive into this, and it feels good.
Was there ever a time before you went vegan you were like, there's no way I could do that?
Oh yeah. I'd had interactions with vegans that were
militant,
unpleasant, to say the least. I'm doing a good job of not swearing, I think. Okay. I don't know if I can. Okay, but I had a lot interactions with vegans that were unpleasant. A lot of interactions with vegans that were unpleasant.
Well, was that more you, or was that more them?
I think it was me. I can be very defensive, and I still can be very defensive. And so, yeah, I think it was a little bit of both. I think it was coming at me in a way emotionally that I understood, but that I was having a hard time with, because it was challenging my identity, and that brought up a lot of feelings, and it's a little bit controversial in this community. I very much believe in like subtlety and nuance and planting seeds. I'm
role modeling and stuff like that.
Yeah, leading by example. I mean, that's the way that I am. I would much rather take a friend to a restaurant and get him a vegan pizza and have him go, oh shit, that was actually good. I enjoyed this vegan pizza that I had. I didn't know that was possible. That to me is what pays dividends, because I've learned the forceful nature doesn't usually work. It didn't work for me, and I know it does, and I appreciate people who can do that. I love and appreciate people in this community who are doing that and making that sacrifice.
When you say the word usually, like
it feels, in my experience. Let me just say, in my experience, it hasn't really been effective. It's been more effective for me to lead by example, talk about stay in really good shape, be like, hey, what you think about protein and what you think about all these things, like, I'm fine, and
but how much muscle have you lost going vegan now?
Zero. Zero muscle. I've lost a lot of fat. I've lost zero muscle. And even last night, having people go like, well, you look like you take care of yourself, and you
look like you just went vegan yesterday or something.
Right, and I'm like, no, I've been vegan for a decade. This is all, it makes me feel good to do things like that. To, like I mentioned about the pizza, take someone here, feed them a vegan pizza, have them go, that was great. Take that home with you and think about it. And the person that I did that, my friend that lives in New Mexico, it really opened his mind up so much to vegan food. And since that time, I mean, no, he's not a vegan. He's not eating vegan all the time, but I mean, he's gone to some vegan restaurants once or twice, tried some things. You know, it's really something he would have never done.
Yeah. Now, you veganized some people in line yesterday.
Yeah,
Were
yeah.
you feeding them?
Yeah, well,
or just showing off your food?
Yeah, exactly. No, you know what, I did something that I normally don't do. We were talking about cows and, you know, veal and that whole process of how much they love how much they love their children and how much they love their families, and to be taking them away, and how devastating that is for the mothers. And mother cows like love their children the same way that we love our children. It would be like someone driving up to your house and throwing your child in their car and driving off. Same kind of experience.
Just stick them in a box.
Right, you know. Yeah. It's the same kind of emotional experience that you would have as a parent that this cow was having. This individual in particular was like, oh shit. I could see it on his face that it was just this. I never even thought about that. That never registered with me, you know, on any level.
I'd been vegan for over a decade before I even realized the veal crate thing.
Yeah.
You know, I could understand people really don't know this. You know.
They don't, and I'd like to believe all of us in this community. I think that the belief that most human beings are compassionate people, and if they knew about this, they would make changes. I don't think we would be doing this if we didn't believe that on some level.
Yeah. Because this is hard work.
It is, and I think that we know that if we can get the message out there, that people are going to go, this is wrong, and this is not the way to do this. There was someone on social media, vegan, you know, a vegan influencer. Around Christmas time, he said, "Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays to everyone except the non-vegans." And I was like, and you know, as far as I go, and just me as a person, I'm like, you don't need to do this. Yeah. You don't. That's not necessary. And I feel like you're slamming a door, and it's just not. In my opinion, that's just not the right.
Well, somebody like that, you know, they're trying to be a little bit maybe reactive, edgy, or aggressive or whatever. Yeah. But at the same, you know, it reminds me of, so maybe they want to be that aggressive, but really we want to kill people with kindness.
That's completely it.
Figuratively, you know, put out that flame of indifference or ignorance. I think that's maybe what you're trying to say here.
Absolutely. I mean, I've had that experience. There have been a number of times where I've had a conversation with somebody and they're like, you're the first, like, understanding, you know, vegan that I've had a conversation with, who's willing to talk. I'm willing to listen, and I'm willing to talk about things like food scarcity. I'm willing to talk about people that are in the middle of nowhere and poor, that don't have access to certain things. I'm willing to acknowledge that and talk about it. And I think lots of people are not. Because I know what that's like. I know what it's like to be poor and not have a lot of access and not have a lot of education around these things. I know exactly how that feels. It would be pretty shitty of me to ignore people that are in that same situation, that don't understand, that don't have access to these things. We need to make Impossible Burgers and Beyond Meat. We need to make those burgers cost effective on a level that McDonald's burgers are.
Yeah.
That's a journey I think that we need to go on, because then we can have that conversation. We can have a bigger conversation around that if we can be like, point for point, you can get this vegan burger at the same price point or a similar price point that you can get this beef burger.
I hope at the same time we can educate that beans are even cheaper.
Absolutely. I mean, so many things.
So much more healthier.
Oh my God. Now, when I was in Italy, realizing that, you know, what we know in America, what we know is Italian food and Italian culture is like Southern Italian culture, because those were the poor Italians that left and came to America. And so much of that food, which is, you know, pasta and sauce, you know, vegan, beans, a lot of, you know, beans and rice and, you know, all vegan stuff. Yeah. A lot of it. And pointing out that those things are, a lot of that's in our culture already. A lot of that's stuff that we eat already that are staples in people's diets already. You know, you're eating vegan.
Have you heard of the Hispanic paradox?
No.
Like, essentially, you know, a lot of Hispanic food leans toward vegan, you know, being
Naturally.
very vegan friendly, obviously.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so the paradox is, while they may be a demographic that's not as affluent, they have less of the chronic diseases as a result, or at least prematurely have those.
Right.
Because presumably they're eating a lot more beans and greens and things like that.
Yes, yeah. And having that be I think even letting people know that, hey, a lot of the time you're eating vegan even if you're not acknowledging it, even if you're not labeling it that way.
You know,
you are eating, this is a vegan meal that you're having, just so you know.
It's so funny, like we were talking earlier, like sometimes if you label something vegan, people won't buy it. But if you take the label off, they'll buy it.
Right.
And I was imagining like two apples, one saying vegan and one not saying vegan.
You know what's funny about that? I had this, oh my gosh, I had this conversation yesterday because especially on like sets where they have, you know, crafty and so Vegan Rob's it's a brand and it's like Vegan Rob's whatever.
Rob Zombie?
Puffs. No.
Okay.
Although I believe the man might be vegan. I don't know.
Rob Zombie is.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it? Shit. I'm blowing my mind here. It might be him. I don't know. So this brand, Vegan Rob's, they have, I saw it one time and it just made me laugh. It was like Vegan Rob's potato chips. And I was like, as opposed to what? Rob. Like, no, because they're potato chips. Why are you specifying, since like vegan potato chips? It's like, dude, you don't need to specify that potato chips are vegan. Like,
but
we
he's
know that.
specifying he's vegan. Vegan Rob.
No, it's like, it was Vegan Rob's vegan potato chips.
Oh, it was redundant.
So it's like, yeah, I know they're vegan, and I hope that people, I hope most people know that, that you don't need to specify. But to your point about, like, yeah, if you just were like, Lay's potato chips, which are vegan.
And then right next to it, the brand, they have a vegan brand.
The vegan brand, like, well, shit. I might have to jump on the Lay's because that other one says vegan. It's like, it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. Yeah. So crazy.
It's just a good testament to how silly people are. You know, and I'm curious, like, so since you've been vegan, how many different kinds of like ailments and diseases have you acquired?
None. I mean, it's made an incredible impact. My blood pressure's definitely gone down. I mean, everything's gotten better. You know, I've always been relatively healthy, not the way I am now, but I mean, like I've always been relatively healthy. But I have Raynaud's phenomenon. It's an autoimmune thing. It's a circulation thing. The symptoms have improved. I mean, it's with autoimmune conditions. I mean, you're kind of out in the middle of the ocean. I mean, it's like you can't, you know, different things like lupus and different things like that. I mean, it's just kind of the way it is. But the symptoms have definitely improved. I don't lose. What would happen is my fingers would just turn, like in the cold, turn like completely white, and I lose circulation. The symptoms have improved over this period of time. Definitely, it's not gone, but they've improved on a health overall health kind of whatever you want to call it. I've definitely gotten better. I haven't developed any new diseases. I mean, my mother had she had lung cancer, stage 1 into 2. She went vegan a couple years ago, and has been vegan since that time. It's really had a very good effect on her and her. She was dealing with arthritis as well, another autoimmune condition. It's had a really good effect on that. The amount of water that's going to feed livestock is just becoming, it's not a sustainable way to live regardless, but it's getting worse and worse where we're having to.
The water thing's kind of weird, man, because like there's a trillion liters of water on the planet.
Yeah.
And there's always been.
Right.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, but I mean, when you see but with like the Colorado River drying up and, you know, like wherever that water is going, you know, because it's going somewhere. Whether it's in the
problem is it's being polluted.
Yes.
Yeah. And less is going to where it needs to go.
Right.
Not that it doesn't need to go to animals. It just doesn't need to go to animals that were forced into existence unnecessarily.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I would say I you know, kind of what we were talking about before with like me being, patient and trying to be. I want to be the person. I want to be the vegan that people talk to, that they're like, that was a good interaction. That didn't make me feel shitty about myself, and didn't I wasn't attacked. My whole identity wasn't called into question.
You're making me think of, like, people don't remember what you say; they remember how you made them feel.
Yes, yeah. Being that person is something that's important to me. The way that I like to connect with non-vegans, and the way that I like to help deliver the message, I don't approach it in a way of like, I'm right and you're wrong. That's not my way. I think that it's important that we make concessions in order to, even if it's just a negotiating tactic, right? Even if it's just to get to a place of
where you can plant that seed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to make concessions in order to get there, in order for you to open up and listen. And
could you be with somebody who isn't vegan though?
No. I was married to a non-vegan, and I felt that I couldn't be myself. I felt that I had to be less me and be more her, and give her more, And that was one of the areas that I wasn't pushy about because of that, because I wanted to keep the ecosystem of our relationship healthy.
Did you ever set limits?
There were times, she would go to, she's half Chinese and half Finnish, and so she'd like to go to, Korean barbecue and stuff. I had and do have an understanding around the cultural connections to certain things, and that was definitely prevalent in her family system and her the way that she grew up, and I was respectful of that to a degree. But I mean, I wouldn't go to like Korean barbecue, and I wouldn't go to these places and sit with her, and it was very
separating.
It put us in different. We were spending less time together, and it just was. It's not a sustainable situation, and having had that experience, as difficult as it was, is an experience that I'm grateful for, because now I know this isn't going to work, because eventually it's gonna break down.
Well, there's a lot of beautiful vegan women out there, man.
There is. Yeah, there's some here.
As far as I'm concerned, they are the most beautiful.
Absolutely. So yeah, when I meet people, I met someone the other night, and got her contact information. I didn't talk to her about being vegan, but I'm just like, man, come on. When the day comes, it's like, man, all right, let's see. One of my friends, the two vegan couple that I know that I'm close with. It was funny. I was speaking to the girl was vegan first, and we had this conversation last time I saw her, and I was just like, I'm having a hard time meeting a vegan girl, and she's like, you should do what I did, just trap someone and veganize them, and I'm like, see, she's like, it worked for me, and I'm like, well, you're a very attractive woman, and persuasive, and I can see that happening. For me, it might be a little bit more tricky, but I mean, I don't know.
I like that hat, man.
Thanks. Yeah. This is Unchained TV. Jane Velez Mitchell. It's her channel and her company, and she's a beautiful human being. I will go to the mat for her. The only thing I won't do for Jane, if you end up seeing this, the only thing I won't do for Jane is watch hours and hours of slaughterhouse footage. That's the only thing I won't do. That's the only thing. I'm already vegan. I don't need to. I've had that conversation too. I mean, I guess like I know that stuff kind of comes into because of the community, and sometimes people share things, and they end up on social media. I find myself not engaging with that stuff anymore for a number of reasons. First and foremost,
emotional well-being.
I'm already vegan, so I mean, I don't, it makes me angry, and it affects my interactions with other people, and I've worked really hard to find a lot of patience and understanding and compassion for my fellow human beings. I've worked really hard on that, and worked really hard to approach people and interact with them in a particular way. I spent a long time finding that that area that I work in, and I know that watching that stuff is just, my emotional well-being is put at stake, and it also puts me in a place where I get really angry, and then it completely changes my approach. My approach to people. I really care about this. It matters to me, and if I'm not taking care of my emotional well-being, it's like being on a plane. Put your mask on before you put on your passenger's mask. It's exactly that. I have to put my emotional mask, whatever you want to call it, before I can do that for other people. So I've learned that's.
But it's important to say that there's plenty of other things on Unchained TV, right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
You're just talking about one little category.
That's one category, but I mean, there's so many good documentaries. I mean, Moby's, Punk Rock Vegan, that's on there.
Oh, I need to see that.
Amazing.
Cool.
There's, we're actually doing a podcast. My friend Kylie Garcia and myself, we're doing a podcast called Power Plant, PWRPLNT. It's like, plant power. Okay. So that's what it was, and I remember when I kind of decided to change to that, and it's a little bit more kind of new school, PWR, power, PLNT. Okay. What Kylie and myself are planning on doing with this outside of the podcast is, we're kind of expanding into some different areas, hopefully in the future.
Do you have a URL for that yet?
I do. Nothing's up there as of right now, but there will be. The Power Plant, thepwrplnt.org. That's going to be the main page.
How can somebody attach to you in such a way that they can be notified or follow you?
My Instagram, which is ShaeBowe. I have an art Instagram as well, which is Lampshade, LAMPSHAE_D. Those are the two things that I monitor the most.
You're an artist?
I'm an artist. I make light art. So I do that stuff, which I'd like to find a way. I have no worldly idea how I'm going to marry all these things right now, but I know that I can. I know it's possible, and I'd like to find a way to do that. So Kylie and I are going to be doing this podcast, and not just our goal really is to do something. We want to bring in non-vegans. That's a big part of our goal. I mean, we don't want to just be preaching to the choir. We want to bring in a wide group of people. And I think we want to talk about just universal things. And so one of the things the first episode that we're going to be doing together, just talking about kind of vegans dating non-vegans, but also that's that part of it that we're going to get into. But really, we're just going to be talking about, dating and relationships and our experiences.
What do you do with Jane Unchained?
That's going to be on Unchained.
Oh, cool.
So that's going to be connected to Unchained. We're also going to have that, kind of hosted on some different places, but I mean, it's really tied to Unchained. Here at the Vegan Advocacy Summit, working at the booth today, or over, I believe, today and tomorrow.
Yeah. So the Animal and Vegan Advocacy Summit here in LA. Explain, what you're getting out of this and why you think it's important to consider. And right now you're running a booth, you said.
Yes, yeah. What I think what's so important about this is connecting with everybody else in the community, because we're so much better together than we are kind of everyone striking out on their own and doing their own thing. Making those connections, being able to go to events together, have a unified voice is incredibly important.
Yeah, it's not just an echo chamber.
No, but I think inspiration. As well, and not just inspiration in terms of being better and doing better, but I think learning. I hope that my approach is something that people can connect with and go. Oh, okay, maybe I've been yelling at people a little too much. Maybe I should maybe back away from that a little bit. Whatever it might be. I mean, I think I'm definitely here to learn for myself, and I'm not saying my approach is right. Maybe I can be a little bit more, there's areas that I'm not thinking about, and there's things I can be better about.
That's so cool that you mentioned that, because when you go vegan, you don't know anything about being vegan. It takes years to develop as a vegan.
Oh, yeah.
Even people I know who have been vegan for decades, even in their entire life, half a century or more, still are learning ways to improve.
Constantly, yeah. Yeah.
Down to be zero waste, as whole food as possible, as minimalistic as possible, as compassionate to every form of life as possible. There's just so many ways to take it to another level.
I'm trying to. Our life's journey as human beings is to learn. My favorite comic of all time, George Carlin, he'd talk about that. About just that's what we're here to do. We're here to learn and grow and change, not to kind of shut ourselves in and go like this is the right way. Having conversations with people that you're not maybe completely in agreement with, and then they open up thoughts and ideas that you maybe didn't have. I want to be a more effective vegan, a more effective activist, I want to be more effective in these ways while showing compassion for life. And that includes human beings.
Yes.
That includes my fellow humans. So finding, that's what this whole thing is about, is compassion. Not shutting off just because humans anger me, and they anger me a lot, in a lot of different ways.
It makes me think, there's a question I like to ask is, how do you stay positive in such a sick world?
Can I be completely honest about this? Psychedelics.
No way.
It's helped me to lose that sense of separation, and I think a lot of this pain comes from is the separation of thinking that human beings are we're above nature, we're above animals, that somehow we're separate from nature rather than being a part of nature. And I think once we learn that, my experiences with plant medicine has taught me that's not true. That separation is absolutely 100% an illusion. I've had experiences, I had a caterpillar one time, crawling on my finger, and me just looking at this caterpillar and going, we're connected. There's no distance here.
Some people have trips. This guy, Ruzi, who has a restaurant called Pythagoras, really cool interview on my channel. He did ayahuasca. He came back. He went from being an extreme hardcore activist to opening a restaurant and feeding people. That was his epiphany.
Sure. That's incredible. Food is absolutely the gateway to getting people. I wish more people were like me, were like FTA vegans. I wish more people were doing this because of their concern for animals.
Yeah, I mean, that ethical underpinning is what holds you. It makes you vegan and keeps you there, and then you find a way to make the diet work.
But food's the way, because I think, unfortunately, most people are going to ask that question: how does this benefit me? How is this going to make my life better? And you get that question a lot. I got that question last night, and I want to be able to say to people, beyond your love and care for these animals, this is how it's going to improve your life. And then the hope is, again, they'll realize, okay, I feel healthier, I feel better, and emotionally, in whatever way, I feel better, and now I'm gonna continue down this path and explore other things. Because I wasn't always an ethical vegan, I wasn't always an FTA vegan. I got there eventually, and I think that I really believe my journey is a journey that a lot of people would take. The documentaries just validated the feelings I was having. I was having these feelings for a long time. This was the validation of that. I had those feelings on some level for a very, very long time. And yeah, that was like okay, here it is. This is it. This is what it is. And the vegan community and the vegan movement is just something that so many people don't know about. And that's what we're here for, to kind of circle back around to what we're here for and why we're doing this, is just awareness.
It's beautiful, it's so diverse and eclectic and comprehensive and vast. And now I'm curious, what is an ideal day of eating?
I think Nature's Path is a brand I go to a lot. They have they have different granolas and different cereals. But yeah, Nature's Path has some good stuff. So I'll do like a Nature's Path, with almond milk for breakfast.
You throw any berries or anything in there?
No, just I'm a person, I can eat the same thing every day and be fine. I know people that need a lot of variety in their food choices, but I'm not really like that. You give me I can eat a Beyond Burger for dinner every night and I'll be fine. As long as my stomach is full, I'm happy. I don't need to worry about it. A couple days ago, I had I got some of the Beyond Italian style sausage.
Those things look kind of funny.
They're fine.
I just don't want to look at it.
They're fine. So I had one of those.
Have you ever seen that photo of where they're kind of bent over and they look like something really phallic?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's they don't look great, but they taste pretty good. So I had go ahead and you can sponsor this Beyond. So I had one of those, and then for dinner I made you know, what I've been having for a long time. I'll do a pasta and, you know, red sauce, and do some spinach and onions in there. You know, a little bit of you know, olive oil, and do something like that. And then I make one thing I've always liked to do since I was a kid. You know, I'll do a garlic bread with like a plant-based butter, put some, you know, garlic salt on there, and then I put the spaghetti or the noodles or whatever it is, I'll put it on the bread and kind of eat it that way. So that's the thing I like to do. So that's a pretty common dinner for me. Yeah.
Well, speaking of food, man, I don't want us to miss lunch. But before we do, you have a quote you want to share real quick?
I don't know. Do mushrooms, and it'll make you happy, and you'll stop being a jerk. Is that a good quote?
Is that a quote? I don't know.
Is that a good quote? That's my quote. I made it up. Okay. You'll stop being a jerk, and you'll realize that everybody's the same, and you'll treat everybody and treat the world better. How's that? That's a very long quote. Sorry.
All right, man. Well,
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it.